Let's talk about one of history's most spectacular own goals, the Maginot Line. This colossal project stands as a symbol of both human ingenuity and the dangers of fighting the last war instead of the next. It's a story of ambition, fear, and ultimately a lesson in the limits of even the most impressive defenses. Imagine spending a decade and billions of francs constructing a 280-mile-long high-tech fortress, complete with underground railways, living quarters, and state-of-the-art weaponry, only for your enemy to simply walk around it. The Maginot Line was a marvel, but it was also a gamble, one that would have enormous consequences for France and the world. The Maginot Line was France's answer to the trauma of World War I, a massive wall meant to guarantee peace and security. After the horrors of trench warfare, the French government wanted to ensure their borders would never be breached so easily again. The line was named after André Maginot, the French Minister of War, who championed its construction. It was a marvel of engineering, a national symbol, and the supposed final word in defensive warfare. Deep underground tunnels connected bunkers, artillery could rise from hidden turrets, and the entire system was designed to withstand the most brutal assaults. For many, it was a source of pride, a testament to French resilience and technical prowess. But it became a punchline, a monument to preparing for the last war, not the next one. As time passed, the world changed, but the Maginot Line stayed the same, locked in the mindset of 1918. The French believed their wall would keep them safe, but their enemies were already thinking differently. Just as tanks and planes changed the game, France built the world's greatest trench system. The rapid evolution of warfare, blitzkrieg tactics, mechanized infantry, and air power rendered static defenses obsolete almost overnight. The Maginot Line, for all its strength, was rooted in the past. The Maginot Line was a brilliant answer to a question no one was asking anymore. It was a fortress built for a kind of war that no longer existed, a relic before it even saw battle. And when the test came, it failed spectacularly. In 1940, German forces simply bypassed the line, invading through Belgium and the Ardennes, areas the French thought were impassable. The Maginot Line was left behind, its guns silent, its tunnels empty. The lesson? Even the best hardware can't save you from a bad strategy. No matter how strong your walls, if your thinking is outdated, you're vulnerable. The Maginot Line became a cautionary tale for military planners everywhere. The consequences for France would be swift, brutal, and devastating. The fall of France in 1940 shocked the world, and the Maginot Line became a symbol, not of safety, but of the tragic cost of failing to adapt. How do you build an unbeatable defense? For France, reeling from the devastation of World War I, the answer seemed obvious: create a barrier so formidable that no enemy could ever break through. The trauma of the last war haunted every decision, fueling a determination to never again be caught unprepared. With a mountain of cash, 5 billion francs to be exact, France set out to construct the ultimate shield. This was a staggering sum, representing years of national savings and sacrifice, all funneled into a single colossal project. Instead of investing in tanks and planes, France poured its fortune into concrete and steel along the German border. The nation's leaders believed that a wall of fortifications would buy them time, security, and peace of mind. The Maginot Line was more than bunkers. It was a chain of underground cities, complete with power stations, hospitals, and even wine cellars. Soldiers stationed here enjoyed amenities unheard of in most armies: cafeterias, barracks, and even movie theaters, all hidden beneath layers of reinforced concrete. Retractable turrets, electric trains, and interlocking fields of fire made it a fortress of genius, on paper. Engineers boasted that the line could withstand any assault, and its technology was the envy of military planners worldwide. But all that brilliance was focused on the wrong place. The Maginot Line's designers assumed the enemy would attack where they expected, and so they concentrated their efforts along the direct German border. The line was strongest on the German border, but weak near the Ardennes and Belgium. In these areas, the fortifications thinned out, leaving long stretches of forest and open land barely defended. Why? Budget cuts, diplomatic worries, and, fatally, a belief that tanks couldn't get through the Ardennes. French generals dismissed the dense forest as impassable, convinced that nature itself would serve as a barrier. The French bet everything on geography and old assumptions. They trusted in the lessons of the past, not realizing that warfare was about to change in ways they couldn't imagine. The Germans were about to prove them wrong. With speed, surprise, and new tactics, they would exploit every weakness the Maginot Line left exposed. Billions spent, but the real threat was left wide open. The Maginot Line, once a symbol of security, would soon become a monument to misplaced faith and strategic miscalculation. The Maginot Line's fatal flaw was about to be exposed, not by brute force, but by the enemy's ability to think differently, and to strike where no one expected. What was life like inside the Maginot Line? Imagine a high-tech bunker that's part sci-fi, part prison. Soldiers enjoyed clean beds, hot meals, and electric trains shuttling them through tunnels. The air was always filtered, the temperature steady, and the facilities top-notch. But it was also monotonous and isolating. Days without sunlight, endless drills, and a creeping sense of irrelevance. The men called it fortress-itis, a psychological malaise from waiting for a battle that never came. They read, played cards, and tended gardens, disconnected from the real war. The Maginot mentality set in, passive, defensive, and static. While French troops polished shells underground, German tanks practiced speed and surprise. The fortress didn't just trap the army physically, it trapped their thinking too. The real war was passing them by. Every disaster has a fatal assumption. For France, it was the Ardennes. The French High Command saw the dense forest as nature's fortress, impossible for tanks. Senior leaders like Pétain and Gamelin were convinced no army could break through, so they left the Ardennes lightly defended, trusting geography over innovation. Some, like Charles de Gaulle, warned that tanks could punch through, but he was ignored. The military clung to old ideas, dismissing new threats. Confirmation bias blinded them. They saw what they wanted to see. Billions were spent fortifying the front door while the back door was left open. This single misjudgment would undo a decade of planning. The Germans were ready to exploit it. While France trusted its wall, Germany planned a bold gamble fall Gelb. General von Manstein's plan was simple. Distract the Allies in Belgium, then send the real attack through the impassable Ardennes. The bulk of Germany's tanks would punch through at Sedan, then race to the English Channel, trapping Allied armies. It was risky. If the panzers stalled, disaster loomed. In May 1940, the plan went into action. The Allies took the bait, rushing north while German tanks crept through the Ardennes. French scouts spotted the buildup, but their warnings were dismissed. On May 13th, the Germans broke through at Sedan with shocking speed. The French command was paralyzed. This wasn't supposed to happen. The German armored fist was loose in France and the race to the sea began. The Maginot Line was outflanked before it even fired a shot. Once the Germans broke through the French defenses, the collapse was shockingly swift. What had seemed like an impenetrable line of resistance crumbled in a matter of weeks, leaving the world stunned at the speed of France's defeat. The German panzers, commanded by the audacious Guderian and the cunning Rommel, didn't pause for breath. They surged forward, moving with a speed and coordination that left their enemies reeling. Their tactics were revolutionary, striking deep, bypassing strong points, and creating chaos behind the lines. Meanwhile, the French command was paralyzed by indecision and tradition. Stuck in the mindset of the last war, they struggled to adapt to the new fast-paced style of mechanized warfare. Their plans were outdated before they were even put into action. Orders lagged behind reality. By the time a counterattack was planned, the Germans were already miles ahead, exploiting every gap and weakness. Communication broke down, and confusion reigned among the French ranks. The best French and British forces found themselves surrounded and cut off at Dunkirk, their backs pressed against the sea. The beaches became a desperate last stand as hope faded and the enemy closed in. The Maginot Line, once the pride and symbol of French military engineering, was rendered useless. Its massive guns and thick walls faced the wrong direction, while the real battle raged far behind its concrete shell. Inside those bunkers, French soldiers could do little but listen to radio reports, powerless as disaster unfolded all around them. The sense of helplessness was overwhelming. The miracle of Dunkirk managed to save thousands of Allied troops, but it was a retreat, not a victory. France itself was left exposed and defenseless, its armies shattered and its people in shock. Paris, the heart of France, fell without a fight. The City of Lights was plunged into darkness, occupied by enemy forces in a matter of days. By June 1940, the unthinkable had happened. France surrendered. The world watched in disbelief as one of Europe's great powers was brought to its knees. In just 6 weeks, the world's most elaborate fortress system had failed to save a nation. The Maginot Line, once a symbol of security, was now a monument to miscalculation. The Maginot Line became a silent witness to defeat, its empty corridors echoing with the lessons of history. The lesson was clear: speed, innovation, and adaptability would always triumph over concrete and complacency. The world would never look at war the same way again. Behind the grand strategy were real people, soldiers and civilians caught in the collapse. Inside the Maginot Line, officers like Lieutenant Bapst recorded the growing dread as news of defeat filtered in. Civilians who once felt safe now fled in panic, their towns abandoned as refugees clogged the roads. Some forts like La Ferté fought to the last man, their defenders dying in suffocating bunkers. Others held out until formal surrender, marching out in formation, defeated but proud. The Germans turned the line into propaganda, filming their conquest of empty forts. They repurposed the bunkers for factories and storage, even using French guns in their own Atlantic Wall. The ultimate irony: France's Great Shield became a tool for its conquerors. The Maginot Line's legacy was not just military, it was deeply human and deeply tragic. It was a fortress built to protect, but it became a monument to loss. The fall of France was a wake-up call for the world. The Maginot Line proved that static defenses are useless against a fast, creative enemy. France's obsession with the perfect shield blinded it to the need for a sword. The US and others took note, shifting to mobile, mechanized warfare. The defeat forced France to rethink everything, leading to the rise of de Gaulle and the Free French. The real lesson: don't get trapped by yesterday's solutions. The Maginot Line became a symbol of complacency and the danger of ignoring change. It's a warning for generals, CEOs, and anyone facing new challenges. Your brilliant solution for the last problem might be your undoing in the next. Adapt or become obsolete. Why does the Maginot Line still matter? Because it's a timeless metaphor for misplaced confidence. It's what happens when you put all your faith in one defense, only to be outflanked by creativity. The Maginot Line ended the era of fortress warfare and ushered in the age of speed and flexibility. Its real legacy is in the doctrines of every modern army: mobility over walls. Today its bunkers are museums, silent reminders that technology alone doesn't win wars. The line was built as a symbol of strength but became a symbol of strategic blindness. The lesson is written in concrete: don't ignore your blind spots. No wall is high enough to protect you from a bad idea. In a fast-changing world, the moment you feel invincible is when you're most at risk. The Maginot Line is history's most expensive warning sign. Don't build your future on yesterday's fears.